Welcome to Guns, Guns, Gear, and Guns with Gary Gunderson. I am Gary Gunderson. Well, the Senate has finally released the text of the bipartisan gun control bill that they have been threatening, which has support of Senate Republicans, which means this will likely pass unless you act now and tell your senators to vote no on this bill. Even cocaine Mitch McConnell has voiced support for the bill. Of course, they release the text today, and I read are planning to vote to begin debate immediately, maybe even this evening, before the public could possibly read through and digest the 80-page bill, called the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act because branding. It has several significant changes to gun laws. And, of course, anti-Second Amendment groups like Everytown for Gun Safety just had a post ready to go, which also shows up first on search engine results to peddle their talking points. Just in case you were wondering where others stood on the issue, and that's odd, it's almost like the senators were working hand in hand with them since they were ready for this release. One of the most important changes to anyone young is the further infantilization of adults by making it more difficult for anyone under 21 to purchase a firearm, essentially allowing for a 3-day waiting period, which can be extended to 10 days if there are any mental health or juvie records that may flag but not necessarily disqualify purchase of a firearm. And this is not just the scary assault weapons, this is all firearms. This is thoroughly unhelpful because it sets a precedent of making waiting periods for anyone above that age who has any mental health records. Why would it matter if you were under 21 and had mental health issues? Why not anyone who had mental health issues? This is especially concerning because now you are punishing people for seeking help or who have sought help in the past. Generally, that will mean anyone who is interested in firearms may decide not to seek help for mental issues, maybe now and forever once you kick this door open. I would be wary about going to a therapist now if it means years later that one time I went can be used to deny my Second Amendment rights, or at least delay it unnecessarily for a week or more. Great job, since part of the bill is supposedly focusing on expanding mental health support. This marks an extremely dangerous step against those seeking help. If you let people decide those with mental health issues in the past cannot have access to firearms if you are a certain age, what happens when someone in power abuses that? We already know that there are people who think anyone wanting a firearm is mentally defective, and therefore only people who do not want firearms will be able to get firearms, but as soon as they want them or try to get them, bam, they are crazy again. It's the catch-22 problem. Literally about being crazy from the original Catch-22 problem.
Orr's crazy, and therefore he can get out of flying combat missions. All he has to do is ask. But as soon as he asks, he's no longer crazy, and so he has to fly more missions.
What?
You may have heard that there would be expanded background checks involved in this law, and that is referring to a change as to what requires an FFL, or federal firearms license. The current law says that you need one if selling firearms is the principal objective of livelihood and profit, which they are changing to predominantly to earn a profit. This is meant to crack down on people with a table at gun shows or selling to individuals if they are not liquidating a personal collection. So be wary of how many of your firearms you sell to your buddies or to others, because at some point that the government gets to arbitrarily determine, if you are quote unquote predominantly earning a profit, Congratulations, you're in violation of federal law and get to enjoy the privileges of committing gun crime. There are also grants being provided for red flag laws. $750 million worth to help the government take away your firearms before any due process, which goes against the due process part of that phrase. But rest assured, in the text, they explicitly state that they can only do this in a way which does not violate your rights. So trust the government to act responsibly and that no one will abuse this power because they super duper promise they won't, and even say that they can't act in a violative way when violating your rights. It's super cool, guys. At least they're well funded. In case you were not aware, a red flag law refers to a law that allows for the removal of all firearms from a law-abiding citizen who has committed no crime. But someone has reported that they may be a threat to themselves or others. It has gained traction as something that is common sense in recent years because many mass shooters have had signs that they are unwell, but they went unreported. Oftentimes, they are things that are crimes in and of themselves, like threats or hurting small animals, but that's not important to proponents of these laws. There are problems with this, of course, like how close do you have to be in order to declare that someone is a threat? A spouse, certainly. What about a coworker with a grudge? A neighbor after you had a dispute? That varies from place to place, and it can be easily abused. I think it would be very easy to do so either out of spite, by someone anti-gun in general, or if you want to hurt someone and let the government just disarm your target ahead of time. It mentions penalties for abuse in one line, but does not lay out anything concrete. It also has annual reports on these laws, but if it's already on the books, they aren't just going to undo it if they don't see that it's very effective. It also changes penalties for straw purchases, notably already illegal, and mentioned in my Delabach video by some brain-dead senator as an issue that needs addressed, whose wrinkly hands are probably all over this section, but no worries. It now has additional penalties, with up to 15 years of imprisonment, with some wiggle room of up to 25 if you had reasonable cause the firearm would be used in a felony, drug trafficking, terrorism, or that the person you give it to will give it to people who will also do those things. So, do not sell guns to terrorists. Good advice, unless you're the government. It has a provision specifically about the Fast and Furious scandal, where the government let firearms go to drug cartels, which were then lost and used to kill Americans. With the text that prohibits selling firearms to drug cartels, which they had to make into law because they have done it before. I mean, sounds good, but they have a pesky little unless right at the end, saying they can do it if they continuously monitor or control the firearms. After all, the government has never lost track of anything. They meant to lose track of the firearms last time, right? Right? I can't believe that's in there. I really can't. Supporters will try to trick you by talking about mental health funding or strengthening schools, which are fine in theory. It's just that whole chipping away at rights portion right in the middle of the bill that kind of bugs me. There's a lot of other funding measures in place and a lot of legal mumbo jumbo. I'm not a lawyer, but I can understand it enough to realize that this is not in the best interests of gun owners. I'm sure there's more in this that I missed on an initial read through, which is also going to be bad. So if you've seen anything else in the bill that's a violation of our Second Amendment rights or particularly egregious, please comment them down below. I can pin comments like that to help anyone watching this. And let your senators know that you do not support this bill and that you may vote against them or would support a primary opponent if they agree to chip away at the Second Amendment. Both parties are signing off on this so far, so please do not be dismissive just because your senator may have an R next to their name. Republicans are involved, which is why this has a good chance of passing. Now is the time to contact them. That's all for today. Please like, subscribe, and share this information with others. If not this video, then at least this information. Thanks for watching.